Hey, welcome back to the Infinite Unlimited, a sub-series of the Comic Syllabus podcast. We are surveying the frontiers of meta-human multiverses, but just a couple months behind. I'm your host, Tuply. Each week, we read some new releases from Marvel Unlimited and DC Universe Infinite Ultra. And we pick a This Week's Finest and a Marvel of the Week. And then we declare this round's champions of the contest between House of Ideas and their distinguished competition. And we also throw in some GlobalComix or Shonen Jump or something like that in the mix. You can find me at Tuply on socials and Substack. And, your likes and follows and subscribes and 5 stars and word of mouth help us to find each other in this endless expanse of narrative galaxies where we go in search of imaginative strength and we dream of sustainable futures. This week, we will start with our DC Universe Infinite Ultra releases. And these books were released on DC Universe Infinite Ultra tier in November 3rd, 2025, and originally released November 5th for most of these titles. Hey, before I dive into this, I just want to say a quick shout out to the folks who, after I released an episode last week of the Infinite Unlimited here at the Comic Syllabus, chimed in to say hello. A couple of likes, a couple of messages from friends, and it's been a while. So thank you so much. I got them all. Sorry, I haven't responded to them all yet, but I am, I am really happy to hear from you. And thanks for listening and watching, whatever. But 4 books from this week's DC Universe Infinite caught my eye, and many more that I would read if I had more time. Harvey and Ivy, Life and Crimes, number 1, Absolute Superman, number 13, DCKO Night Fight, number 1, and Gotham Academy, number 2. Gotham Academy First Year, number 2. Brief rundown of these before I get into this week's finest. The DCKO Night Fight is part of the DCKO crossover event that I mentioned last week. Huge old tournament for the, privilege of being able to contest with Darkseid for the fate of the universe, something like that. And so, spoiler alert, in the main tournament, Batman was far too soon taken out of the tournament. But there's this sort of failsafe, that's the wrong word for this character right now. There's this backup plan, and a mother box transports Batman to Gotham City, but a different Gotham City where, as it turns out, there's a different Batman, and it is none other than Dick Grayson. This DCKO issue was written by Joshua Williamson with art by the inimitable Dan Mora. And it was fun. It was fun. I don't know what's going on yet in this DCKO tournament of champions, but I liked, let's see, I think the last big tournament of fighters that I read was the X of Swords event. That was part of the Krakoa era X-Men book. And I thought, oh, that's a fun premise, and I've seen it before, and we've seen it before, of course, in comics and media. But they did something really unique and fun with that one. And so I'm kind of interested if they do things that actually make you think with this one. And I'm here for the sort of fun of a big old night fight. But in this case, it's Batman versus Batman and many, many Robins in an alternate Gotham. And, sometimes those Bat family relationships will hit you in the feels and really make you think a little bit about what if the world was a little bit different? What if I wasn't here? Or what if I made a different choice? How does that, in fact, change my legacy among the people that I care about the most? And there's a little bit of thought about that and rumination, and also lots of Robins flying around. So it's a good time. Harley and Ivy, Life and Crimes, number 1 is written and drawn by Erica Henderson, and it is the as yet untold story of how these two got together. And in recent years, it's become canonical that the relationship that started just as the character of of Harley Quinn started in other media, but this relationship, this romance between Harley and Ivy has just become a thing, and I think it's cool. Erica Henderson is I'm always here for Erica Henderson drawn book, but to have Henderson telling the story, writing this story, 100% is really cool as well. Um, Gotham Academy first year is a return to the Gotham Academy characters, kind of a prequel to the Gotham Academy run that I loved so much. With written by the original team for the most part of Becky Cloonan and Brendan Fletcher and Carl Kerschel. Art is by another artist, and I think that's interesting. I think Kerschel is doing the covers, maybe, but I do like the art, and I gotta find that artist's name. Insert here. Or check the show notes. It's fun because as a prequel, we get to kind of see Olive Silverlock before the Gotham Academy series that we know so well and love. And if you don't know it, you should read it. It's out there. It's right here on DC Universe Infinite. Great run of stories. But Olive is first showing up to Gotham Academy, and in this issue, in addition to sort of getting pulled into all kinds of drama with her mama and what's his name, Jonathan Crane, Scarecrow, we also get to see when Olive starts to have this blossoming relationship with Kyle Mizuguchi. And of course, Kyle brings her home to meet her family, including her younger sister, Mia, aka Maps, who is, of course, and those are the characters that we come to know in the original Gotham Academy. So if you read that, it's a lot of fun to read this. But I will hold off on talking about Absolute Superman number 13 because that is this week's finest. So the absolute run of DC titles is, of course, blowing up. And I think their success and popularity kind of a huge boon to comics as a whole right now. These, along with the Ultimate titles, although I think right now there's more energy, sort of more excitement about these Absolute titles. But this one, the Absolute Superman run, has been written by Jason Aaron and with art pretty much through the whole thing by Rafa Sandoval, colors by Ulises Ariola, and letters by Becca Carey. I have really liked this. I find myself a sucker for Jason Aaron. Anything he writes, he's coming back again later this episode of the Infinite Unlimited. But yeah, he just has a way of finding a narrative, path into some real pathos that can't help but hit me in the feels, as well as I think challenge me with some of the kind of moral dilemmas and things like that that superhero comics can still make us think about and make us turn over and sometimes speak to something within us. This issue is sort of a culmination, a climax. It's called the Battle of Kansas, and so what's been going on is that this version of Superman in the Absolute universe, that Darkseid has sort of tipped toward, I guess, the forces of evil. We're dealing with quite a different Superman. And what I like about the thought experiment is I feel like Aaron is saying, okay, well, if instead of the optimism, the sort of sunny patriotism of, truth, justice, and the American way that Clark is raised in, what if the world, that he left, the Krypton that he left later and was able to grow in the disillusioning reality of his parents fighting against this system, ignoring them, and then all being sent off, and then landing in an Earth where the forces of oppression, of control, this Lazarus Corporation and things like that, these peacemakers and these paramilitary troops and so on, um, have this tight grip. The way that if evil runs rampant, to a degree that we have known in history, I guess, but equipped with all of the sort of technology of these, metahuman stories. Um, yeah, what if? And so the shape of his Cal sorry, I should say, the shape of the team's absolute Superman of Kal-El, of this this Superman, is quite different. And what's been very cool to watch is as he is in a way more slowly come to trust. And here we kind of, I think the turn, and a slight spoiler, of course, if you haven't read any of this run, but Lois starts in a very different place. Jimmy starts in a very different place. And I think this is really the issue where they are recognizably who they are in, our familiar universe, but they have gotten there by a different route. And in the same way, the Superman, the Kal-El that is inside, who we have known, through decades, is also showing those same stripes, but in very different conditions. It has to sort of peek out through a very different initial stance. So I think that's really interesting. Smallville is being attacked and bombarded and quarantined by these Lazarus, forces, and so Superman has been really, man, he's been through it, and so he sends his soul, which is his sort of his sentient cape / robot, to protect. And then there's a sort of a twist with all of that. But as I said, actually, we kind of start out hearing narrative both from Lois's perspective, and Lois and Jimmy, who are sort of figuring out where they stand in relation to where they came from on opposite sides. I think of these resistance and control of dominant powers, and then they are sort of finding their spot, and at the same time, Cal is figuring out what he needs to be in this particular world to save lives, to be a hero. And there's a moment in this where Jason Aaron has this way of the worlds he creates are often, when they need to be, so unforgiving and brutal, that when there are moments of mercy, they just have this power, maybe a sincerity to them that is pretty powerful, and there's a bit of that in this issue. So I've really loved this entire run. I feel like it's and I feel like this is a pretty peak issue in a very peak run. I think Sandoval's art, which initially compared to what Nick Dragata is doing over in Absolute Batman, and then what Hayden Sherman is doing over in Absolute Wonder Woman, Rafa Sandoval initially was like, okay, that's typical, but as the run has gone on, I just think it's been perfect. It's been kind of dramatic, and there's a realism even while we're having capes and mech suits and armor and all that kind of stuff. There's a realism and a kind of like familiarity to the dark powers of control and oppression that I think the series pulls off really well. So I'm enjoying pretty much every Absolute DC book, and maybe Absolute Superman is my favorite among them. But as soon as I say that, I think, oh, that Wonder Woman is pretty amazing. That Kelly Thompson, Hayden Sherman Wonder Woman's pretty amazing, and actually that Batman is pretty cool. So we got a good thing going here. Jumping over to Marvel now. The issues in Marvel Unlimited that were released on December 1st and that were originally released 3 months ago on August 27th, which I read, include Miles Morales' Spider-Man, what number is that? I think it's 37. We are at 37 in this run, written by Cody Ziegler. So yeah, 37 is the one that I read this week, as well as what else? What else is on here? Is that it? That's the only issue, everybody. My circles aren't circling. All right, no problem. We're just gonna sidestep the technical difficulties. I also read Imperial War, Black Panther, Imperial War, Planet She-Hulk, and what else was in here? Runaways, issue number 3, and capped it off with Immortal Thor number 1. Actually, let me correct that. Cap that off with Mortal Thor number 1. And so just to go back onto the creative teams of those. Oh, and I forgot one. How could I leave this out? Jeff the Landshark number 3 also. So to go in backwards order, Jeff the Landshark number 3, written by Kelly Thompson with art by Toki Tokoro, and cover art, as you can see, by Gurihiru. It's full-blown stories with this very popular character. I like to say that I was there when at the ground floor of Jeff the Landshark. But fun story, kind of fun to hang out with Jeff. And Tokito Koro's art isn't Gurihiro, but it's got a kind of a style all its own. So Jeff ends up in Madripoor. We got, as you can see, Wolverine on the cover, and Rogue and Gambit. A few other characters coming into the story, interacting with everybody's favorite Landshark. So fun, cute, adventurous. The Imperial War issues, including Black Panther number 1 and Planet She-Hulk number 1, were all right. The Imperial War Black Panther number 1, written by Hickman and Victor Laval. So really cool creative team of writers and the artist Kafu. And so T'Challa has been kind of, I think, scapegoated, blamed for the assassinations that are leading to all this war. And so in this issue, there's like, some Hulks showing up, and the action is just kind of getting ignited. Same with Imperial War Planet She-Hulk, which is written by Hickman and Stephanie Phillips with art by Emilio Laiso, where She-Hulk is sort of the ruler of Sakaar, and so in this case has to figure out who is behind, it's kind of a detective story actually, who's behind some murders. And so the She-Hulk ruler of Sakaar is still the Jennifer Walters lawyer, whose legal acumen allows her to kind of dig into this world of violence. The Imperial War, I'm still having trouble wrapping my mind around this whole event, but it is cool to see these characters in a different space and doing their thing. So those are fun, following those. The Mortal Thor number 1 is written still by Al Ewing, coming off of I think 25 issue Immortal Thor arc. But the artist now is Pasquale Ferry, who is a super cool artist who I really, really enjoy. And so if you had not read the Immortal Thor run, it was pretty good. I think I got to issue 18 or 19, and then I kind of just catch me up on the recap of what happened there. So I have a vague sense of what happened, but basically, Thor dies in the Immortal Thor, the irony therein. But in this issue, Thor is reborn as a mortal named Sigurd Jarlson, who is a construction worker who has amnesia and doesn't realize who he is, and happens to be real proficient fighting with a hammer. So, look, I'm, Al Ewing, sometimes, one of my favorite writers. Sometimes it's a little impenetrable for me, but Pasquale Ferry's art is always a treat. So I'm excited about this series, and I'm in it. But my technical difficulties kind of spoiled and gave away what. Oh, oof! I almost got all the way out here and forgot to mention Runaways, which is not my Marvel of the week, but is maybe the one that I am just the series that in this sort of week of the calendar I'm just most excited about, because Rainbow Rowell is back writing with Roberta Ingranata as artist, and but basically this is coming out, hand in hand with the Doom event. The Doom event, which is called One World Under Doom. Of course. Thank you. Thank you. But essentially all of the Doom bots are being recalled around the world. And of course, if you've read the Rainbow Rowell Runaways run, first of all, if you haven't, run away right now from this podcast and go read it. It's so good. It's one of me and co-host Kid's favorite runs of comics. But we're back with the same characters, but a little bit forward, a little bit backwards in time, and they are trying to hold on to their Doombot, who has this crisis of identity. They are still a Doombot and very much committed to being Doctor Doom. But all the Doombots calling them back, and all of the Runaways trying to save them. And meanwhile, we get the return of some characters who were gone or we thought were gone, and it's just great to be with these characters again, and no better hands than Rainbow Rowell. Yeah, I said it. I said no better hands. That may include a certain Mr. K. Vaughn. Don't tell him I said that. I mean, can you have somebody else besides the original creators of the character write them better? Surely it's happened many times with many characters. All right, here we go. Now we have our circles showing up. Now we have our portals showing up for all the books that we read this week. All right, but the book of the week is Miles Morales' Spider-Man, number 37. And the reason why it is the book of the week is because I really, really enjoyed Cody Ziegler's writing on this run. All right, sorry, folks, some technical difficulties, and we're back. The Marvel of the week this week is Miles Morales, number 37, written by Cody Ziegler with art by Luigi Zagaria, colors by Brian Valenza, and lettered by VC's Core Pettit, and cover by Federico Vicentini, who was the artist, I think, on the beginning of this Cody Ziegler run. But the Zagaria art ain't bad. The art in this whole series has been pretty glorious. I think Brian Valenza's colors are doing a lot with that, but also the style of this book has really impressed me from the start. And I think we have, just the right tone and vibe. I think just the right sensibility for Miles, and I'm excited for this book. I'm excited to be back reading this book. So what happened? I read probably the first 25 issues of this run. And I think what was hard was I really love Ziegler's writing. I really love the story, the development of the character. I just didn't love that we were always getting interrupted by Spider-Man events. And I feel like that happened 2 times, 3 times. And not that the writing was poor. I think he rolled with it really well. But just that I just kind of lost the plot amidst all of the things that required me to read every other Spider-Man book. But we're kind of back with Miles now, kind of patrolling Brooklyn, and after the events of I think the last event or whatever, he is encountering a group of a couple of thieves with a couple of foxes. So we meet a couple of new characters. You can see them there on the cover. One is Inari, who is in Japanese language a god that's wearing a kitsune mask, and is just doing some cool stuff with foxes. You see the foxes there. And then another character named White Cat, who is a sort of a master thief with a high-tech gear, and able to be undetected even by Miles's spidey sense. And so they are up to some thievery, and Miles is doing battle with them, and they're also having fun back. And so the way that they revel in the work of their theft reminds us of somebody. Reminds us actually of several characters. But Misty Knight, who has been mentoring Miles through this whole run, shows up, gets in the mix of the fight, and the last page reveal, which I will give away because it's not a terrible, huge shock, is that Misty guides Miles to get a little bit of help with this set of villains from really another perfect mentor, which is Black Cat, because you got White Cat, the thief. Let's deal with them with Black Cat, who we talked about last week. Is Black Cat #1 had just come out last week. So, yeah, so we're back to gang crime, organized crime activity in Brooklyn, and we're back to Miles trying to deal with all that on a very street level, and with Misty and now Felicia being those sort of voices of mentorship. I like the dynamic. It's a pretty atypical for superhero comics type of mentor mentee relationship. There's a brutal honesty in the ways that they are bringing Miles along, and I think it's perfect for the character. Um, I think a lot of energy, excitement about this was that we have a new character introduced and debuted. A couple of them actually, White Cat and Inari, and they are well designed characters. They got a little spunk and style to them, and yeah, I think they're intriguing. The art's exciting. There's just like Vincentini when they were the primary artist, and like some of my favorite newer artists who are often doing younger characters, your Nicholas Draper Ivies and folks like that. There's just a kind of electricity and energy in the art. Really appreciate that. And Yeah, I mean, I think I've felt about this entire arc of Miles Morales from Cody Ziegler that some in different writers' hands, there's been more or less of a feeling of hit or miss or authenticity of the voices of the characters, and I just feel like Cody Ziegler is a really good handle on the pulse of the worlds that realistically Miles might come from. And so, yeah, it's just honestly just a lot of fun. Um, so that's this week's Marvel of the Week. But every week, what we do is we kind of name a book. We got our DC's finest this week, and we got our Marvel of the Week. But we name a book that takes the cake and wins the competition. And this week, that is Harley and Ivy, Life in Crimes. Again, written and drawn by Erica Henderson, with letters by Hassan Otsman-Elau and crew. So, yeah, as I mentioned before, this is a origin story for the romance between Harley and Ivy. And if you look at the cover, if you start reading the pages, there is with Erica Henderson as artist and writer. And if you've sort of seen Henderson's work, um, the visuals really match, I think, the voice and the sense of style, the presence of this creator, and able to infuse, I think, just the right creator to infuse Harley and Ivy's voices with that bit of like sincerity and sarcasm and insouciance that really the characters deserve and do so well, and kind of channel so well as well. But then to have that come into a spot of falling for each other when initially it seems quite oppositional, and Harley is still wrapped up in the sort of Mr. J um, mystique, and Ivy is um, really quite militant in as the character is. What we love about the character, why that character, both these characters kind of flip between that villain and hero line. Um, yeah, but I think what feels refreshing about this is that Henderson is just unabashedly in their style and in their voice, and you really have Harley and Ivy telling their own story and really being able to say, like, this is how we met. These are and telling it sort of on their terms. And yeah, you got a little Batman involved, you got a little action involved. You got Joker, whose presence in terms of how it evokes or how it prompts Ivy's understanding and attention of who Harley is, and Harley's sort of vulnerability behind the facade or the outward pieces. Um, yeah, it's a good start to a story, and I just love that this is like the right story to put in the right creator's hands, and it seems like the kind of thing that Marvel was doing a lot and really well when Marvel was regularly winning this contest. But that more often I feel like we're seeing happen over at the distinguished competition. So I like this book, and it's DC for the win this week. Um, but moving beyond the DC and Marvel binary. I'm still kind of enjoying what's now offered in the gold membership of GlobalComix. And if you haven't checked it out, I think you should. I think they got some trial memberships that you can do for a while and see what's on offer. One of the things on tap that I caught up on that I had read, it started a bunch of times, but now that there's a good like 12 issues out, is the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles run that has been written by the aforementioned Jason Aaron. And the first arc was drawn by this Murderers Row, like different artists every issue of crazy great artists that you wouldn't normally necessarily associate with Turtles. And I had read the previous work, the sort of IDW reboot, that set of writers and artists, and the Sophie Campbell stuff. It's good stuff. I just feel like that they knew here, like with this reboot, they were going to take it in a slightly different tone and really up to another level. And so that first arc had Chris Burnham, had Cliff Chang, had Joel Jones, and Rafael Albuquerque, and Juan Ferreira, who went on to be the main artist in the second arc. So issues 1 through 12 are available on Global Comics. And yeah, it is good. It is good Turtles. I'm even though I just said I had read all these other previous IDW stuff and tons of the Eastman and Laird and other renditions of the Turtles beforehand, I always feel a little skeptical whenever there's a reboot because, I'm just the age when that was one of the original properties that, seized my attention as an impressionable young kid when the cartoon first came out and all that stuff, and the movies with the terrible Vanilla Ice. Anyway, um, so kind of lifelong familiarity with the Turtles, but this was the yeah. It's been a lot of, I think, a lot of versions, and I've been able to appreciate kind of what's good about them. I think it's nice. There's a dash of everything cool at some point. You kind of read at the beginning, and a lot of that recent Last Ronin, which is kind of a Dark Knight Returns vibe tribute, is in there. But then very quickly we realize that there's more dimensions, and it's really kind of in that second arc. Um, uh, and there's a kind of really an arc of sort of redemption and purpose to everything that was set up by Aaron and creators in the first arc, and in the first arc, the four brothers, the Amato brothers, are all separated, sort of from fallout of the last runs, and Shredder's dead. No, sorry, oof, terrible. Splinter's dead. I think Shredder's dead as well. And they're in a New York where there's the intrigue of a district attorney who is way too powerful and also has the assistance of the Foot Clan soldiers, ninja, whatever, um, working and embedded throughout different institutions. The turtles are, as they often are, hated and reviled and on the run, and maybe most importantly, estranged from each other. And so the entire arc is a process of them finding their way back. And there is a almost mystical, spiritual dimension to all of it that, Yeah, at first seems like it's just kind of a shtick or a certain characteristic of one of the characters that really becomes central to the story, and really worked around quite beautifully. I got to say, there's a lot of pieces of how this story, which has again been told so many different ways, was constructed that I was initially kind of skeptical of, but I should have known better. Jason Aaron knows his way around laying pieces and constructing a story to bring it. I was like, I think after issue 7 or 8, I was like, okay, I know what this is doing. By issue 8, I was kind of like, well, I'm getting a little misty eyed because I know where this is going. So it's a cool run. And all available to be read. I think this cover over here is for the second arc is for the upcoming trade collection, which maybe is not out yet. But anyway, all 12 issues are out and there for you to read at GlobalComix at the gold tier, gold membership or whatever. The reason I was really, invested in catching up at this time, though, is that I think next week, is that right? Next week? And the new creative team is coming on for IDW's Ninja Turtles, and it is Jinwen Yang, as you all know if you've followed this podcast, one of my favorite writers and creators in comics, with art by Freddie Williams II, who is not Freddie Prinze Jr. I sometimes get that mixed up in my head, but an artist who's I think after I've read Freddie Williams II's comics, I'll always be like, that was good art at the end. Like by the end, I was like, yes, I see it. If you drew in this style, this is like that. This is amazing for this style. And it's not necessarily the style that initially appeals to me, but there's so much, competence, really, artistry, I guess. Yeah. In it that, it's hard to deny sort of the effectiveness of the storytelling for the style of art that it is. And it'll be really interesting to see where Yang and Williams take the story. So that's coming out, I think, sometime soon in the next couple weeks in December. So I'm still figuring out. I don't know the rate. Is it the day and date that IDW comics show up at GlobalComix, or is it after a delay of a few weeks or months? I don't know. I'm not really sure. I can tell you now that those 12 issues of TMNT are there at GlobalComix, and that big recommendation from me if you like that kind of stuff, or even if you don't. If you just like to read a good Jason Aaron yarn with some cool art. That's been Infinite Unlimited here at the Comic Syllabus. This is 2 weeks in a row. Is this happening? Are we back? I don't know. I don't know if I can realistically keep doing this, but when I can, as long as I can, I will. So yeah, great to hear from all of you who chimed in, and thanks for touching base. Let's keep reading.